Hello everyone and welcome back to Error Correcting Erik. We are in episode 18 and we're going to discuss chapter 16 of David Deutsch, Beginning of Infinity, which is on the evolution of creativity.
Okay.
So last chapter we discussed the evolution of culture. We're going to continue with creativity. It's rather, again, a short chapter, but nonetheless not less interesting. So before we dive in, let's re-establish what David Deutsch means with creativity. Because when we ask most people, what do you think creativity means? They will say, oh, it's like people that express themselves artistically.
Right.
Like people who draw, people who paint,
Correct.
Stand-up comedians, web designers, fashion designers.
Somebody with a paintbrush.
Yes, exactly. But that's not the type of creativity that David Deutsch describes in his book. Correct. So for him, creativity is the ability to create new explanatory knowledge.
Correct.
And it is intertwined and linked with our ability as a person to be an universal explainer.
Yes. And I think two things for me were helpful going through the book in terms of, let's call it terminology. And so the Popperian approach is never get stuck on definitions.
Yeah.
Because if you get stuck on definitions, it's like, how do you define the words that are then used to define the words that you're defining? So,
yeah, exactly.
Like, what's the definition of everything in the dictionary, for example?
Yeah.
So it's a losing, let's say, battle when you debate definitions. You want to debate meaning.
Exactly.
Right? So the meaning here of creativity is, as you said, the ability to create what's the phrasing, ex nihilo?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Knowledge.
Yeah.
And knowledge is, I think, how Deutsch describes it as information with causal powers.
Yeah.
Right? So he makes a distinction between information and knowledge, being that it's knowledge, it's information with causal power.
Yeah.
So yes, that I want to call it definition, but that meaning of creativity is important. The second one is, I feel, whenever you're reading Deutsch or Popper or talking to critical rationalists, is that you need to know, and it's ironic I'm saying no, you need to know what to know means. So people often, I think, confuse it with, I know, for example, XYZ. And if it's a moral statement, for example, I know that, doing such and such is better than something else, then some people will get upset, for example, especially parenting advice. Like, imagine how I've seen a lot of people get really heated discussions because they disagreed on parenting approaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So to know something means that you think that you know that thing. It doesn't mean that it is a universal truth, capital T.
Yeah.
But it is what you know. So whenever we talk about something we know, I think colloquially what we mean is, in the critical rational sense, is this is to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, that's how I understand it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or how, let's say, science has understood it. For example, we know that the Everettian quantum, multiverse interpretation, they call it, but which I feel is a little bit of a jab that you give the theory.
Exactly.
That
it's like
deserve.
Evolution theory. It kind of implies that it's just a theory,
Yeah, it's a theory. Like, everything is a theory.
Yeah.
Like the theory of measurement is a theory. The theory of proof is a theory. The theory of building construction material, and that's not really a theory, but theories that physics
that govern it.
Yeah, everything is a theory. The theory of knowledge, which is epistemology. So everything is literally a theory, because you cannot decisively prove anything.
Exactly.
You can only disprove wronger, more wrong things. Yeah, I on purpose
Yeah.
used the wrong grammar there.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. All right. Good that we clarified what David Deutsch means with knowledge, with creativity.
What I think he means.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
speak
yeah,
for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
We know what he means, right? Yeah.
We think we know.
Exactly.
What he
To our best understanding.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that is described in this chapter is some examples of how creativity applied on prehistoric humans. Yeah. And he makes a small distinction between imitation and replication. Yeah. He says, for example, a monkey seeing another monkey use a rock to bash open a nut.
Yeah.
Yeah. When a monkey sees that, observes that, he can imitate that behavior.
Yeah.
And then he can himself start using rocks to bash open nuts and get food in that way.
Right.
It is an imitation of behavior,
Right.
which is very common in animals, especially in mammals. The pups of that species will imitate behavior from the parents, and we see that in all mammals. But there is a big distinction that Deutsch makes. It is not the same as replicating ideas or memes. So when you imitate something, you merely copy the behavior. But when you spread ideas, such as we have a podcast on this book, and then other people can watch it and they can think about it, it's not imitation, it's replication. So he makes a distinction there to not get those two confused and the way knowledge and creativity is transferred.
Yes, and I think to add there, so on the mimetic side of things, which and sometimes I get it, sometimes I lose getting it. You know what I mean? Where you think you got it, and then all of a sudden it kind of falls apart in your mind. But I think I got it again. Like so, the ability to transmit memes exists not only within humans but also apes, for example. I think in the book he says apes ape.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
We have a literal terminology for them.
In Dutch we say naapen, which is to ape, to mimic something.
Exactly. Or a parrot, parrots.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but the observation criteria is important, I think, because Popper in his lectures apparently famously said to his students that were sitting in the classroom, and he would say, observe.
Yeah.
And, you know,
nothing.
People would maybe after a while start asking him, observe what, sir? Which is the point.
Yeah.
You need a theory of what you're observing before you can go and observe the thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of where inductivism goes wrong, is because you think you can observe your way into theories.
Exactly.
Is the premise of inductivism. Anyway, apes aping, parrots parroting, but they have that inborn genetically, that knowledge is genetically inborn to them to mimic, but
imitate.
Something very specific, right? Because a parrot, if it's gonna mimic you, and Deutsch gives the example of a parrot parroting one of Popper's lectures, would do it with Popper's Austrian accent when he speaks English.
Yeah.
But if you and I were to ape Popper, we would most likely not include the Austrian accent in our replication of it, right? So it is really a specific range of genetic decoding, and it's an input-output mechanism that the parrot has, where it cannot not do it.
Yeah.
A parrot I think cannot choose not to parrot.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And funny enough, my grandma used to have parrots.
Oh, really?
And she used to have to change her ringtone on her phone every month or so, because the parrot would take over the ringtone.
And then you don't know if somebody's calling you. Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, great. Cool. So another thing he discusses, he says, well, where does creativity come from? And most people assume, it's probably an evolutionary benefit to be creative. Right. But he gives a couple of examples of prehistoric people and apes to actually refute that idea. Because he says, okay, let's go back and take an example of prehistoric people living together in small communities. The speed of at which knowledge was created wasn't fast enough to allow somebody with more creativity to have an evolutionary advantage over somebody else.
Right.
So for him, creativity as an argument, it's evolutionary beneficial, is not a good explanation and is not a good answer on that. There must be something else causing creativity without merely being able to point at it's an evolutionary benefit.
So I think it was an evolutionary benefit, because otherwise it wouldn't have been given to offspring. Right? So a gene or a meme. So I think meme cultures already existed before human-like creativity existed, because we know that monkeys have cultures and have memes. And so they have the ability to transmit memes. But they can only it evolves into a degree of higher fidelity, because the higher the fidelity of the meme, let's say to crack open a nut with a specific rock, the more the other ape will mimic the behavior, etc., etc. So the memes evolve to a higher levels degree of fidelity.
I understand.
Right. But I think it needs to have some kind of benefit in order for it to be passed on. I think almost, and I hate to use the word definitionally, but I think it has to, because otherwise it wouldn't have been passed on if it was not useful in one way or the other for the gene or for the meme, not necessarily for the organism.
Exactly.
But then going deeper on the part of what I think you are talking about is, I think sexual pressures are not sufficient to argue for the evolution of creativity.
Exactly.
I think that's what you meant.
Indeed, and he gives a couple of examples of that specifically in this chapter.
He does, and what strikes me is I mean, if you remember those, we can talk about those, but what strikes me as what I got now, and you'll find anybody who's reading the book, like literally go, like I've read it now for six times over, and I'm still having these aha moments where it all clicks again, and
insights,
the whole thing comes together, because sometimes you think it's all this, how many chapters is this book, and you sometimes think it's like individual standalone pieces, and they are individually very strong and standalone, but they all come together in the same worldview. So he's very consistent in the book. I haven't caught any inconsistencies. But so coming back, what he says is that ironically, and this is probably from our tribalism, comes from mimetic cultures where memes or the transmission of memes would have to be one of higher fidelity as you transmit them, because otherwise the meme will be lost,
or else the culture doesn't evolve as a whole.
Well, the definition of the meaning of culture is the aggregate of memes.
Exactly.
Right? But for a meme in a culture to change culture, for example, it would need to be very successful. It would need to be distinct. So it would need to be able to replicate itself to a very high degree of fidelity. Like example, smash nut with black rock, not brown rock or something, right? Then if all the monkeys use black rocks on one side of the island and brown rocks on the other, then
and then smash nut with sharp rock,
or sharp, or any combination thereof. It doesn't necessarily need to be better at nut cracking for the meme to be successful, as long as the meme is replicated throughout the culture.
Exactly.
Then that is what we would say what the meme is wanting to do.
Exactly.
I don't mean it literally wants it. It's a
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
It's a criteria. It's a
Yeah.
But so for humans, let's say, to then have evolved out of tribal mimetic, culture, which are static societies, because it means that the higher fidelity of a meme that you try to replicate, the less error correction you can do on it, because it wants to remain static. It wants to remain the same meme, right? So tribalistic cultures, also humans are very tribal still. I think we haven't really shed that quality of ours.
I think most people believe that is no longer a factor of humans, but it still is way more than people realize.
Yes, because the meme is still there. We have the ability to get rid of our tribal memes.
Yeah.
We have, but we haven't in society, in our cultures yet.
Yeah. And on a side note, I believe I read this. I talked a couple of times about the book of Ruben Mensch, who is a Belgian journalist, who wrote a book on why most people think that they are always right. Yeah, and a part of that has to do with tribal culture. And what's interesting there is that, I believe I read it in that book, is where he describes an experiment where they have a class of kids and they give half of the class a blue shirt and the other half of the class red shirt.
Right.
And then no further instruction. They only divide them by colored shirts.
Right.
And what you see, they don't give the kids any instruction or exercises. What they see is they start to band together, the blue shirts and the red shirts, not only during class, but during recreation and during gym and so on. So, and even an artificial divide, because it's not a real one, can lead to that tribal culture. And a second part that I found really interesting on that is when they followed the activities that the kids do in their groups up with a questionnaire, kids can confirm, look, the other kids, they're stronger, they're faster, they're smarter, so they can say positive things about one group and the other group. But there is one specific thing that each group always attributes to themselves, and it is moral superiority.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what the activities is and what they do. When the question asks, is your group morally superior towards the other, they will always answer yes.
Okay.
And that's something that has been studied, I believe, in to a wider extent, which is something that I find really interesting.
I mean, it assumes that people have a theory of morality when you ask that question also. So I'm
True.
just going to kind of, I guess, assume that all those criteria have been met for people to make
and that they properly understand it.
Yeah, because if you just ask somebody that has a little bit of I want to say an ego possibly, are you right about things? They will say yes.
Of course.
But maybe deep down they'll know they're not.
Could be, yeah.
And it's just kind of a virtue signal, if anything. But yeah, I think on the kids part of things, I think that maybe alludes to the fact that we still have genetic dispositions to tribalism. That there's a...
That's what the first part of the experiment shows.
Right. Yeah, and like many things that we've done with our creativity is we've been able to overcome our genetic dispositions, right?
Yeah.
On a lot of, like, we can't fly genetically, but we've been able to create airplanes. And so I guess maybe to loop it back then, also what I found interesting, almost very ironic, and I think Deutsch in the book says in the chapter that it's what was it, the great joke of the gods or something, and obviously I think he's an atheist, so he doesn't really believe in God, but he says it's the greatest joke joke on humanity.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah, I think it's at the end of the chapter, but he basically says it is the backdrop of why he says that is because static societies, which we discussed in our last podcast, so
exactly
interested, go back there, but we talked about being a society that doesn't allow for change, really.
Yeah.
If you want to boil it down to kind of mundane speak, right? Or progress. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's static societies are tribal, almost you could say, and they don't allow for a lot of error correction. So how does creativity evolve in what were only static societies, literally designed to avoid creativity?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So he makes the argument, very compellingly, is that creativity evolved in order to be able to fake fidelity, almost. And I'm being a little bit shorthanded here, but if we are in a complex mimetic environment, and I need to be able to guess at what your meme means and somebody else's meme means, and I need to operate in this culture with highly complex mimetic components, and I want to maybe sometimes, because I want to be, I don't want to die. I want to maybe have status in this culture, in this society, and food, access to I guess the Maslow pyramid
of needs,
needs type thing. Then if I can evolve creativity, I can pretend to be a better you.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Or you can find ways to move to higher fidelity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even in a static society.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
That's why you see, and I know a lot of people in the past that were, let's say, conquered by other religions. I know that, was it in the south of Spain, I think, when the Ottomans were there, but then I think the Christians reconquered. And then a lot of the, I think the Ottomans or Arabs, and I forget exactly which specific peoples it was, but they were allowed to stay if they converted back to or they converted to Christianity.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of the time, the converted Christians that were actually within their hearts, let's say, still Muslim, were actually better Christians outwards.
Oh, really?
Than the actual Christians, because they knew to avoid getting detected.
Of course. Yeah.
They had to be the best possible version of a Christian that they could be. And so they were often better Christians.
I see.
In a sense. Than the actual Christians.
Because they needed creativity as some sort of survival instinct within that society, something like that.
Well, we're talking about humans now, right? So they had the creativity, but I'm using this, I guess, as not an analogy, as an example of how creativity is used
exactly
to maintain fidelity with memes.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, and that's what the argument that Deutsch makes. He says he conjectures, he guesses that creativity evolved in order to actually. Almost kind of pretend to be part of the static society.
Exactly, I see. Interesting. Yeah.
So ironically, static societies created creativity.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the first people that were creative had to, kind of keep their heads down, and you see this a lot, right? People like whistleblowers in society, or there's a lot of behavior expectations still in all of cultures that humans have, and if you go a little bit off the norm too much, you get kind of not accepted anymore by said culture.
Exactly. Yeah. There's also a famous expression that says, well, limitation is the mother of all creativity, which could be similar to what Deutsch is subscribing, because you're limited in your environment, so you have to start acting creative to be able to navigate it.
Yeah, it was definitely an accident. I mean, all evolution is accidental in a sense, because it has to do with, I think, the genetic changes on a cellular level, where I think it's gamma radiation from the universe that hits a gene and therefore changes.
Yeah, and then it's switched from an A or a B to a B or
Something
exactly.
like that, yeah. And then basically that creates a mutant, and that mutant is then better at operating its environment than the non-mutated or the differently mutated version. So maybe let me ask you a question, like knowing that we are universal explainers, knowing that monkeys, let's say, I think macaques, I think share what, like 99%, 0.9 similar DNA to us.
I think most primates or something.
Yeah, but that one extremely.
Most,
I think that's the highest similarity of genetic code that we have. It could be wrong. Could be chimpanzee. I think it's a macaque.
Yeah, or bonobos or
bonobo,
orangutan, something like that. Yeah.
Right. So we know that the code, the software that runs explanatory type programs is small. Yeah. Because we share so much of the same, and they don't have it.
Exactly. Only 1% is enough to.
And so the question for me to you is, what do you think are kind of the criteria that you need to evolve into us? And
interesting.
Yeah.
It has to do with a level of intelligence somehow. I think there is a threshold of intelligence, and once you cross that,
what do you mean by intelligence?
Yeah, your capacity to analyze, conjecture, observe.
No, conjecturing is explanatory. Is the explanatory algorithm.
Yeah, indeed. So you need a certain level of intellect to be able to do that.
Yeah. Define intellect.
Yeah, that's a difficult one, I think. Yeah.
I think it's useful to say about, for example, information. You need enough storage.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, indeed. And also like the ability to process it.
Sure, yeah.
Somehow.
But we know that ChatGPT today has a lot higher processing power than we do.
Yeah, and a lot more storage.
Yet
cannot do it.
It can do what we do.
Yeah.
We create it.
Exactly.
The other way around.
Yeah.
So I think for sure there's a minimum hardware criteria that has to be met.
Yeah, indeed.
A minimum amount of maybe synopsis
or neuron capacity, however you want to call it.
Yeah, some kind of hardware minimum. Like it's like on the Mac that we're filming this on. I think if I were to destroy half of its hardware, it wouldn't work anymore.
Exactly.
Right. And I don't think that's necessarily. I don't think that has to do with the fact it's not there. I think it has to do with the fact that you need that to operate this.
Exactly.
Right. But then secondly, we know that the program, let's call it the universal explainer program, that all humans run on their brains, is extremely small. Because again, the apes don't have it.
Yeah. But their brain is almost.
Some monkey brains are literally bigger than ours.
Yeah, indeed.
In volume, and we know like the elephant has
bigger brain
and
way
more synopsis and connections. The octopus is entirely brain. I think.
Almost. It has multiple brains. I think. Yeah,
I think like the brain tissue goes into the tentacles and
exactly.
So, I think Deutsch, I think, gives a little bit of a story throughout the book where he says probably there was a moment in which the hardware components, because once mimetic ability existed in the primates, the meme would want to spread itself.
Yeah.
So you would have an advantage evolutionary if you would be able to store more memes.
Exactly. Yeah.
As another ape.
Yeah.
Right. So the fight for storage was on, and maybe pattern recognition, imitation came out of that. Probably. Parrots have that ability, and we also can mimic things. I think we have mimic genetic things as well. Like kids, they don't know if you wave at them and they wave back. They're not doing it because they think it means hello.
Yeah. They're just imitating.
It's genetically encoded.
Yeah.
So probably there was this moment at which meme evolution, took off because of its, evolutionary benefits, with these apes that could, again, do a lot quicker things than genetic evolution could, even though it's slow in our, life, because we have explanatory abilities. It was still a lot quicker than genetic evolution, which is, hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than maybe 100 of years to find a better nut.
Yeah,
it's still a shorter lifespan than genes. So I think once that took hold, the race for, I want to call it storage, was on, and brains became bigger to be able to contain more memes, or maybe the complexity in the brains changed, or the networks changed to be able to accommodate more mimetic storage. And then at some point, the first universal explainer was born.
Yeah, indeed.
And I sometimes think about this guy or woman. I don't know which.
That person probably didn't even realize it themselves.
I mean, it probably didn't know that it was unique.
Yeah,
because it probably thought the others had it too.
Indeed.
In a sense, but I think it would quickly find out.
But the others did.
How superior it was.
Yeah.
To all the rest, because it could guess at new things.
Exactly.
It could literally probably take up the new rock that nobody ever thought about.
Yeah.
And said, why not that edgy one?
Indeed.
And he could open 7 nuts in 30 seconds or in 30 hours, 30 minutes rather than.
Yeah. I think that 2 things that I want to catch on there.
Yeah.
First, the brain argument, I believe you say, is that, we are smarter or we are universal explainers because we have a bigger brain. That's not necessarily a good explanation, because there are species out there who have bigger brains than us, and they don't have the capacity. So just having a bigger brain doesn't automatically surmount to you being a universal explainer, having creativity, being able to run the conjecture algorithm, so to speak.
Yeah, it's software, not hardware.
Yeah. And then the guessing part, you mentioned it very shortly previously during the previous episodes, because you noticed that your son is guessing things that he thinks that you're trying to mean. Yeah. The guessing part, the ability to guess, is probably also a universal building block of that algorithm. Yeah. Because that allows for faster iteration. Faster guessing is a way of conjecture, I think.
It is conjecture.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
To guess something is the same as to conjecture. And I don't mean definitionally, it means the same. I'm saying your ability to try and explain something is a guess.
Indeed. Yeah.
Always.
Indeed. And then you need observation and data to prove it or disprove it.
Depends on what you mean by data. Because if I need to... I think, again, the example of Popper, where he says observe, and people are kind of scratching their heads saying, what the hell do we need to observe?
Indeed.
So it is not just about data, because data is all around us in a sense. The universe is all data. So, and they use this is inductivism that we're getting to now. You cannot just observe your way to a new theory. It's not
exactly.
Although Newton, for example, did think of himself as an inductivist. That doesn't mean
that he is.
He induced the knowledge to create Newtonian physics.
Yeah, exactly.
It is quite literally impossible to induce knowledge.
Yeah, I see.
You can never, it's like, again, it's like you observe the sun coming up and down, or whatever, and therefore you think, tomorrow it's going to happen again. Well, maybe tomorrow there's an eclipse.
Indeed, yeah.
Which means, by the way, that's not even a theory. The sun goes up and down. It's just you're just kind of, watching this thing.
Yeah,
you're observing something, but you have no idea without your understanding.
Yes, yeah.
That's universal explaining.
Indeed.
You guess and say, maybe that giant bright thing there is is
going up and down.
Is something else. Maybe it's like a, and then maybe the word planet was a thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people thought it was the gods, and a lot of explanations were through deity.
Indeed.
But ultimately, the ability for you to say, maybe that thing is happening because of XYZ.
Yeah.
Is your ability to create explanatory knowledge. And that's a guess.
Exactly. I will give the most simple example. Something that I noticed this morning that was a guess for me.
Okay.
In our bathroom, we have a very tiny new clock. It also measures temperature and humidity in the bathroom. A lot of people have these things in their bathroom, right? Because you want to know the time when you're there. Sure. But what I notice is that on that tiny little device that only costs 10 euros or something, it says weather forecast.
Right.
And then it shows you the weather forecast.
Okay.
But how does it know that? So there is the example of the conjecture part. Yeah. Because I had to guess, where does that information come from? It's not connected to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or anything. It's a very simple little device, very cheap. So where does the information of the weather forecast come from?
Right.
So my conjecture is that weather forecast is broadcasted through radio frequency to devices to be picked up. Like I know certain clocks are synced with radio, so they're always perfectly accurate on time. So I think that's the simplest example, practical example of guessing and conjecturing. And there is no way of knowing that, and that's I think what you mean, by keeping observing that thing. I can watch that thing 24/7. Yeah, that will not help me in my theory. Where does that information come from?
Yes, but observation doesn't need to be sensory. It can be tactile information as well. Like when we talk about data or watching stuff, it's just watching things is so natural to us. We almost don't question it.
Yeah.
But and even the guess that you just mentioned is you understand how much information or knowledge you need to be able to even guess that thing.
Because I need to have knowledge of maybe weather forecast or radios.
Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe basic electronics. Maybe if I don't have information on radio, but I understand basic electronics, I understand that that device itself cannot forecast the weather. That information needs to come from somewhere.
Right.
And it's not connected to our local Wi-Fi. It's not connected to Bluetooth. So it has to come from an external source.
Or it's just, a label that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it could be that it's completely fake.
That's also possible.
That's also a very good one. Yeah, nice. Well, there is one more very important thing in that chapter. And for me, it is the most profound insight of that chapter. It is the question, now that we understand a bit more creativity, how it evolves, the algorithm of conjecture. The question is, can you stimulate that? Yeah.
What do you mean by stimulate?
Stimulating is, for example, random mutation happens on its own. Yeah, it has a certain pace.
I know what you mean.
A certain speed. That's why it takes 100,000 of years for a small change.
Yeah.
But the growth of knowledge can go way faster, and it needs conjecture, guessing, and so on. Can we stimulate that, meaning in the way we educate our children?
Create the right environment for knowledge growth.
To allow for the growth of knowledge. And which mechanisms can we use? Can we, as for example, as parents, to stimulate the growth of knowledge in our children? Our education system. That for me is one of the most profound insights that I got thinking about when I read this chapter.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And it's one of those things where you start understanding again the consistency of the book. Because first you think, it's about morality. Then you think, it's about physics. Then you think, exactly. Now it's about consciousness again and free choice and then and then it's about politics a little bit, and memes all of a sudden. But it all comes together because it is so important to understand how special we are in the universe at all. Because if you look at it from a ability of what I think what Deutsch calls the this typically the big influences the small, right? Meteor hits Earth, dinosaurs dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Black hole gobbles,
I see.
planets. Big plane crashes into small car gone. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowledge flips that
I see.
causality.
Yeah.
Knowledge can be the small influencing the big.
Yeah, I understand.
Right?
Yeah.
We can, with our knowledge, I think NASA has one of these where we know if a meteor is coming, we can currently deflect it.
Yeah, exactly.
We have that technology.
Yeah.
So it's the small influencing
The big.
The big.
Yeah, the small knowledge can influence the entire human race from not going extinct.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
indeed.
knowledge is the explanatory knowledge is the big dog
I see.
in the house.
Yeah, I understand.
It is the master of all.
Yeah,
It can dominate anything and everything should it want to.
exactly.
And by want to, I mean, should people that have the ability to create knowledge want to. So I think that is, and then the question of children come in because we all grow up. We all, we're child at some point, and we know that being a child is a very special thing. They are very gullible as well. They typically have a lot of, I think, genetic wiring still that they're more prone to in a sense, but they're also super creative. And I mean actual like Deutschian creative.
Yeah, not artistically creative.
Not artistically
so to speak.
creative, exactly. So how do we cultivate children? How do we raise children?
Yeah.
And cultivate cultures that enable the growth of knowledge. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want societies with more progress
Exactly. Yeah.
and better lives and the ability to have free lives and create, healthy cultures ultimately. So yes, kids and how to raise them is, I think, one of the most important questions in people's, let's call it, the list of problems that we have. But then to bring that together to how do we make sure that cultures are set to allow for more knowledge growth? I think we kind of know already how to do. We know some of the fundamentals of what helps it.
Yeah.
We know that there's things like morality. We know that people are sovereign and have their own interests. They have their own rights because consciousness is something that inherently means that you have morality. I don't think a dog has morality, for example.
Probably no. Yeah. No.
I don't think a dog will make a difference between good and bad. I think it's genetically wired to do something.
To do certain things. Yeah.
But we can make a choice.
Yeah.
Right? People make choices against their genetics all the time. People starve themselves to death sometimes.
Yeah.
Surely that's not been coded in genetically.
Not at all.
Or people, unfortunately take their own lives in different ways as well.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately as well, people sacrifice themselves for other people.
Yeah.
As well. So, yeah, I think a lot of the elements of societies that allow for quicker progress, we have some of the building blocks. We know that there is the requirement, as you said, for conjecture and criticism, which I think de facto needs almost like a free speech environment. Because if you
don't, it's a big.
Yeah, if you can't talk about it, then
exactly. Yeah,
you can't discuss it, and then you can't make progress.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, for me, is probably the biggest of all is, ensuring free speech with some limitations. And I think actually the U.S. Constitution figured that out quite well because, we often see most debates being held in the US.
Yeah.
And I think because it's part of their culture to
Indeed.
debate things openly.
Yeah, I believe like the limitation is like free speech ends as long, or it is considered free speech as long as you don't directly call upon violence for individuals or groups.
Yeah, you have libel. Like you can't, let's say, and this is like a very crude example, but let's say somebody hasn't been convicted of, a crime, and you go onto a public forum and you say that person is a criminal, then that is libel. It hasn't been proven in courts yet.
Exactly.
So you're putting somebody in a position where their reputation can be tarnished, and possibly they could lose their job, their income. So you have libel laws, which are very important. You have, as you said, you can't call upon violence, or directly or indirectly. And then I think the third one, there was a third one, I believe, where it's something like you can't yell, like bomb on an airplane or something.
Yeah.
That's also like a limitation to your free speech in a sense. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
Although a plane is not a public environment, so these free speech laws only apply in the public scene, because a private school is free to make their own rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't like the rules, then don't go to the school.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Don't yell bomb in an airplane. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Unless there is one, then obviously you want to call attention onto that.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that free speech is a very important one. I think like the private property rights are a very important one. The ability to own something, and I think the ability to create wealth and how economies work, I think ties into this epistemology as well. But that's maybe for a future discussion.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. There's one final note that I was thinking about, and it is the influence of the academic world in understanding this process. Because I remember when I was in college, we had to write papers, and I never understood why we had to write those papers. So, and especially in the process, we were like told, oh, you need to read other papers, and then you write a new paper on those other papers. Yeah. And I remember very well that not only me, my co-students were like, what are we doing here? We're writing papers on other papers. Yeah. So, but that's how knowledge is created. Yeah. Or new explanatory knowledge. You expand upon things that already exist and so on. And you start from conjecture. But we were taught a lot of things, but that mechanism on knowledge creation, for me, I believe it's not inherently included in our academic system. Yeah, I remember when we started with in high school with physics, you learn about the scientific method. That's typically one of the first things that you learn once you start to get science class. Yeah, and it starts from ID, then you need data, then you need proof, and so on. So that's kind of an introduction. But I believe there it is only confined to scientific experiments. But it's not. It's that scientific method applies to the entirety of knowledge creation.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes you can't you can't scientifically prove something, and then that is the realm of morality, in a sense, or the realm of the realm of morality, because if you cannot, you can logically argue for things, and I think that's what Deutsch explains. Like, you don't need to run these massive experiments like the Nazis did, with eugenics. Like, you can rule that out based on moral arguments.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't have to go out and try the thing on mass scale and devastate people's lives. Yeah. So there's that element to it. But yes, the scientific method applies to, I think the scientific method is the argumentative debate method, really.
Exactly.
It's ID, criticism, better idea.
Yeah.
Or, this one sucked, and let's remove it.
Yeah.
So let the ideas do the fighting, and the people, obviously are vehicles of those ideas, and then out, comes hopefully a better one.
Yeah.
The problem with academia often is it's an institution with people, and like institutions with people, they try and with different, the incentive structures don't always align with the necessarily output of what maybe the mission statement is of a university.
Of course.
And that's why I think, for example, the free market or the free market is often best suited to solve problems because it is brutally honest about its ability to solve it. Because if you're selling a product no one wants to buy,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. While subsidized, establishments, literally use other people's money, taxpayer money.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to yield like a result or a benefit or whatever.
Yeah, they don't always have clear KPIs or something, or they don't, or it's not tied to the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's been funded by things that do solve problems in the real world. It doesn't mean it's not solving some problems.
Exactly.
It's just I think it can solve better and more problems if it would also expose itself to free market environments.
Yeah.
And there's good arguments for having schools be more, I guess, excluded from society in a sense, because then Einstein wouldn't be pressured to deliver his equation before he thought it was ready or something.
Yeah, I see.
That's a very nuanced debate to have, and a little off topic here.
Yeah.
But what you said about the universities was also interesting because they famously say, I don't know who they are, by the way, but I've heard people famously say, if Einstein went to university right now, he himself would not graduate or meet the criteria when he would write a paper. Yeah. Because the system of that right now, of the paper, what do they call it again? The thesis. The theses, right? That you have to write. The rules of these are so specific that you snuff out creativity.
Yeah. It's completely stripped of that, and it needs to be in a certain way, in a certain format, and
which is the opposite of creative, right?
Yeah, I understand.
A good example also, and I'll wrap it up after this, but is if Einstein were to take a test during the Newtonian physics days, and his teacher would ask him to, write down the equations of the apple falling from the tree. Yeah. If Einstein would write that in Einsteinian equations, he would fail.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
He would fail. But I think sometimes that still relates to today, when you're taking tests and you need to perform, you need to show certain results in a certain way and show a certain methodology, especially when it's not always, For example, I studied product development, and the output of the product that you develop is not always easy to score and to quantify. So what they look at and what they score at is the methodology that you have used to come to that product, because you cannot fully quantify a new product or a new service and score that objectively with all students. There is no good framework to do that. So they score the methodology. Have you used the systems that we have taught you, and the ways on how you should create a product, and that's what they're going for. And I think that's what you mean with the incentive structure and the rules that are so specific.
Yeah, I don't know anymore what it is today in classes in university, but that's kind of what I meant, is that so what do you think testing does? What do you test when a student takes a test? What are you testing? Yeah,
in most tests, I believe it's their capacity to memorize certain information. That's what they test, and their ability to reproduce it in a certain way.
Yes, correct. And actually, you can take it a step further. It tests a person's ability to take tests.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing else.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what it does. Because how often would we be in college, kind of just ramming that?
Cramming info
into our short-term memory.
Yeah.
To only get out of class
and completely forget it.
Completely forget everything.
Yeah. That's what I think is really important, and what I liked a lot in the mathematics and physics courses that we had in my education. It was completely open book.
Right.
There is no memorization required. We were allowed to bring any book, any paper, any notes.
Yeah.
None of that mattered. The only thing that matters is if we were able to solve those problems.
Right.
And of course, these tests, they were set up in a way that students that believed that they didn't need to study anything, that they didn't need to practice, they could just bring the books and then
they would still fail.
They would completely fail, of course. So I think that's a better system.
It is better, but it's still taking a test.
Yeah, indeed.
In a sense,
not
literally taking a test.
You try to make it as relevant in real life, because we weren't doing random calculations. I remember we had to calculate like engines and actual components of a car.
Right, the thing has to work.
Yeah, exactly. So it was more like instead of just testing theoretical stuff, it was applied mechanics. We were calculating gears and levers, but not theoretical ones in actual systems.
Right.
Yeah, which I believe is a bit better. It's still taking a test, of course.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think we're gone a little bit off. Maybe off topic here, but
it's still interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Any other things? Final notes that you want to share?
To me, again, that moment where I realized what Deutsch was saying, how he thinks and he argues, I think it's the only logical way that creativity could have evolved.
Yeah.
Is through trying to be more static in a static society by using creativity to adhere to the norm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Rather than,
Indeed.
So ironically, it gave us the opposite. It gave us the ability to do other things with it, right? Because creativity doesn't have to be used just for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny.
That's an interesting insight. Cool. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in again and for listening to this episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.